And this next topic that we're talking about, I think would probably make some people uncomfortable, although it shouldn't. Everyone has a mom, a sister, an aunt, grandmother, etc. They all have some woman in their life that they hopefully care about.
That's right.
We're talking about period poverty. Brittany Averett from Sylvia's Sisters is here with me. And Brittany, good morning, first of all.
Good morning.
And what is period poverty?
Period poverty is, at its most basic, the inability to afford or access period products. It can get bigger than that. It can be access to clean water, access to menstrual health education, access to appropriate health care, access to clean bathing facilities. But at its core, period poverty is the inability to access or afford period products. And it has all sorts of ramifications on a menstruator's life.
How did this all come about? Because I've never even heard of it before. Obviously, I've had that going on in my life since I was 12 years old, but I've never heard of period poverty.
We get that reaction a lot. I actually had that same reaction when I first started volunteering with the organization. It's just because menstruation isn't something that is comfortable for people to talk about. There's a stigma around it. It's a hidden, private, it can be considered like a gross thing. I think that it's just not talked about. You hear about housing insecurity, you hear about food insecurity, and all of these. If you don't know where your next meal is coming from, then you are probably in the grocery store having to make really hard decisions about whether you're going to buy a package of pads to manage your period or a box of noodles to feed your children. So it's just the stigma, I think, is the big reason that most people haven't heard of period poverty.
Can we change that at all?
Please, yes.
Right?
That is why I'm here. That's a big part of our job is advocacy for menstruators. I mean, period poverty is a core issue in women's health equity, and solving it is going to go a long way.
How big of a problem is period poverty?
It's estimated, and studies on this vary widely from, depending on where you are in the world. In the United States, the latest study done by the Alliance for Period Supplies, of which we are a member, shows that 1 in 4 girls are going to miss school this year because they don't have the appropriate period products that they need. And 2 out of 5 low-income women will miss work, will miss important doctor's appointments or other important life events because they don't have access to period products.
Can you share any stories about what's happened to some of these kids?
Oh, yes. We hear heartbreaking stories all the time. For instance, one of our communities and schools representatives that we work with shared a story about a girl who was consistently picking fights or exhibiting bad behavior. She was trying to get sent home is what she wanted to do. And so they sent her to the counselor who was able to dig a little deeper and find out that this girl did not have consistent access to period products and was so embarrassed. And she would rather have, disciplinary action instead of admitting I need to be sent home because I've leaked or had an accident.
Wow. That's horrible.
It is. So that's a school that we provide period products to, and they now have a hygiene pantry that is accessible to all the students. I heard from a mother whose daughter started for the very first time, and she called us and said, I'm not getting paid until next Tuesday. My daughter is going to have to miss school. Is there any way that you can get us products? I got another phone call once from a woman who was escaping a domestic abuse situation with only the clothes on her back.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. And then our partner shared with me about an unhoused couple who was living in the woods, and the husband came to, it's a local church who runs a food pantry, to the food pantry, but he had to leave his wife in the woods because she didn't have period products. And he was so worried for her safety and was just delighted when the partner had period products to provide, which thanks to Sylvia's Sisters, they do. So, we hear stories like that all the time and how it really just deeply impacts the lives of the women experiencing period poverty. 40% of the menstruators in Central Virginia are considered low income. And those are the people that we are trying to help.
Once again, we're talking with Brittany Averett from Sylvia Sisters. We're talking about period poverty. 20% sounds like a lot.
It is a lot, yes. And that is 200% of the federal poverty limit and below, yeah.
Brittany, how does your organization work?
Our core program is providing period products. So we provide them to schools. We provide them to nonprofits like health clinics, women's shelters, homeless shelters, groups that work with the formerly incarcerated, groups that work with veterans, youth centers, addiction centers, really anybody that serves low income or at-risk populations. Those are the people we're trying to reach. We will provide period product kits to those organizations. We encourage them to provide those to the people they serve. About half of our products, we donate between 400 and 500,000 products every year, and about half of them go to schools.
Wow.
Our major mission, we were founded with the tagline of keeping girls in school.
When I learned about your organization, I was talking with a girlfriend of mine, and she would tell me about a girl that she went to school with who would sneak into different bars, restaurants, whatever she could that knew they had the free ones, like sitting out in the bathroom, and she would take them, whatever she could find.
We hear stories all the time, and, it's really a shame that providing period products in public restrooms is not the norm.
Right.
I mean, they're no less needed than toilet paper or running water. So advocacy is also a big part of what we do, and encouraging businesses and the government to provide period products in public restrooms would go a long way to solving this problem.
Hopefully, if someone's listening and they have a business of some sort, whether it's a restaurant or hotel or something,
that's right,
that they would think about it. Because maybe we don't talk about it. Like you mentioned earlier, it sort of does have like a shameful or private sort of, no one wants to talk about periods in general, let alone period poverty. And maybe they've never thought about it.
Well, and think about if you didn't know where your next pad was going to come from. It would put your entire life on hold for days every single month. We want menstruators not only to be able to attend school and earn a living at work, but to do so in a way that's dignified and that is stress-free, so they can focus on their studies, just like the non-menstruators in their class are able to, focus on their studies and attend class without that extra hurdle.
Yeah, there's only so much toilet paper that,
That's right, that you can stuff in there.
Exactly, right? So you mentioned advocacy. What kind of state legislation is addressing period poverty?
Well, so Virginia is actually, compared to other states, pretty good. We have a state mandate that requires period products to be provided in schools. However, it is an unfunded mandate, so the state gave no money to school districts to purchase these products. Additionally, there was no guidance on the execution of this order, so we have spoken with countless school nurses and communities and schools representatives and teachers, and there's a big problem with custodial staff being unaware that they have to stock these supplies, and just like getting from A to B, like purchasing the products is hard enough for some school districts, and then actually making sure they're in the bathrooms and they're not being vandalized is a big issue. So we work with schools to try and develop systems to make the products accessible to the people who need them in a way that is semi-private but also effective. We had hoped, our founder was pretty involved in helping that legislation get passed. We'd hoped that the schools requesting products from us would decrease, but that has not been the case. In fact, it's increased a lot. So there could definitely be improvements there. Virginia is one of the few states that don't tax period products anymore. This is relatively new as of last year.
Yay, Virginia.
Exactly. So that's great. But the sad thing is that no federal benefits program like WIC or SNAP, formerly food stamps, will allow you to purchase period products with those funds.
You're kidding.
No.
You're not allowed to?
You cannot do it.
That's shameful.
Right. So there's a lot of legislation that could really help this issue and move it into the public eye.
Can we write Congress people, senators?
Please, yes.
Do you know who we would get a hold of to do this, like even on the lower level?
I mean, a couple weeks ago, I had meetings with the staff of Senator Warner and Congresswoman McClellan, and they were very receptive to supporting legislation that's going to be coming up in the House soon. There's no legislation that is on the table in the Senate yet. But Grace Ming, a congresswoman, is proposing legislation that hopefully is going to be, if it isn't already, up for debate soon. So.
Okay. Now, other than writing to everybody and screaming it from the rooftops about period poverty, what can we do to help?
Donating to Sylvia Sisters or any other organization that's fighting period poverty in your community is always the best, very valuable to us. We are able to purchase period products we buy them by the pallet in bulk. So the price that we get per pad and per tampon is a lot better than you'd get in your local Walmart and local Target. We can stretch your dollar very far. But also running period product drives, we have a lot of community groups that do that for us. And we love that. And we will make sure that those products get into the hands of the people that need them. We host kit packing events because most of our period products are distributed in kits. And these kits are a variety of pad types and tampon types. Like we have our overnight pads and our thin pads all in one kit so that it will last a menstruator for 1 month, based on an entire cycle and like the different phases of that cycle. But we need those kits packed. So we have a lot of volunteers who come in and host kit packing events at our warehouse. And that can be a fun thing to do with your girlfriends or your boyfriends. We have lots of men who volunteer for us as well. Or your coworkers. We have a lot of corporate groups and other businesses who do employee engagement events with us. So there's lots of ways. If you go to sylviasisters.org, you'll see a lot of ways to get involved.
And then just real quick, I actually had a friend now when I was a kid whose mother was really uncomfortable and wouldn't talk about it, even with her own daughter.
Yeah.
Is there something, if there's a woman listening right now and she doesn't know how to talk to her daughter who may be like reaching that age, or a youngster whose mom really hasn't said anything, is there something you can say to these people to say, hey, we really need to talk about not just periods, but period poverty?
Yes. So we have resources on our website, sylviasisters.org/learn. And that's a great place to start because it gives you realistic information. It covers all the basics of like what's happening anatomically to your body, but also like those questions that you want to ask but might be scared to ask. So referring your daughter to that website and having her read that would be great if you're uncomfortable talking about it, which I do understand. There's amazing books out there now at the library. That's how I introduced the topic to my kids. And now they're just very comfortable and come to kit packing events and talk about it like it's no different than anything else, which is great. But I think understanding, too, that it's not just one conversation. It's not like you have a conversation and you check that box and you're done and you never have to talk about it again.
Okay.
It's an ongoing, lifelong, very important part of a woman's overall health and well-being. And so preparing your daughter to advocate for herself and know that it's okay to ask these questions. And if you ever think that like what's happening to you might not be normal or is different for you, like that in and of itself is something that justifies a visit to your doctor or a conversation with, a trusted person in your life. And knowing that I think more important than having these initial conversations, or I guess just as important, is equipping them with the confidence to have them for the rest of their lives.
Let's end the stigma, shall we?
Let's do it.
Talking about periods in general, menstruation, menopause, all that stuff. But and let's talk about period poverty too, and know more about it. Thank you so much for coming in, Brittany Averett.
That's right.
You're with Sylvia Sisters. Spell out that website.
SYLVISSISTERS.org.
That is a lot of S's.
It is.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in and talking about this very important topic.
Thank you for having me.